Welcome everybody to the first Average Joe movie review. A little background on why I've decided to do this. For several years I've been pretty disheartened by people who have been paid to do movie critiques and the talking heads on the internet who are purposely venting their poison just to lash out rather to people in general because they have some other issues going on. The internet seems to be a home for that lately. So I've decided to create what is called the Average Joe Movie Review. That means basically we're in a comfortable, casual environment. This is my apartment. Welcome to it. And I am, consider me your person on the street that you would ask, would you go see this movie? So, given that said, the first official movie of the Average Joe Movie Review is Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. And I'll let you know right off, because this is going to be casual, don't expect any clips or photos of the movie. If you want to see any of that, go see the movie. Respect the film enough to go do that. So I've written down some points that I've seen on movie reviews on YouTube that I would like to counterpoint. So one of them is the majority of the complaints I've heard of Batman vs. Superman is that it's a mess. It's all over the place. Well, I gotta tell you, I thought all the plot threads were very well interwoven with each other. I thought none of the scenes were shoehorned in there. Everything ran together very fluidly. I kind of thought that they had a lot of story that they were cramming into the trailer, and I did think that they've got an awful lot of story to tell for a movie. So, but I was very well pleased at how everything was paced, how everything fit in. And you've also got to understand the filmmakers are trying to make a movie for people who are first introduced to the DC universe. They are not just making it for the fans. So they want to give those who have first been introduced to the DC universe a little bit of what's to come. And one of those was, I think the title kind of said it, Dawn of Justice, where we are introduced to the three main command people of the Hall of Justice. You've got Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. So a little bit in the film, and I'm going to try not to do a lot of spoiler alerts here. There's one major one I will not tell you, but Bruce Wayne sent Diana Prince an email about metahumans, and they gave you a little bit of clip of Cyborg, Aquaman, and the Flash. I think that they wanted to give an introduction so that things can get a little more sped up into the next movie, because if we crawl along until we are satisfied with a good slow pace to introducing out all these characters, then it's not going to be until like the fifth movie that we're going to actually see the entire ensemble of the Hall of Justice. So they did a good job of just giving you that little snippet, and they gave you a little bit of a snippet of what's to come. And I'm pretty sure Darkseid is going to be in there somewhere. So, do I think it's all over the place? No, I've taken some screenwriting. I'd have probably approached it the same way. And I'm very proud that they did do it. The battle scenes were exquisite. I know everybody misses Chris Nolan's interpretation of Batman. That style was still a little bit in there. And I don't think anyone's going to miss it. Superman, when the Man of Steel came out, it was a different bit of take on the style that I was used to. I grew up with Christopher Reeve, and I thought the style of Superman was not, it was much more otherworldly, but not beautiful. I mean, if you like ship that looked like molten lead, that's fine, but I grew up on a crystalline world of Krypton, and I think that is not only makes more sense on a technological level, but on a beauty level as well. There was a certain beauty to the world of Krypton, whereas you want to miss it. But are you going to miss a big glop of swirling lead that, can turn into a face or something? I'm not knocking it. It's different, but I grew up on that, so I'm still trying to keep an open mind. Ben Affleck is now, to me, the best Batman that has ever been out there. I'm going to tell you right now, as an openly gay man, the best thing I saw, the opening of him in that snug little business suit, just seeing the back of him made me hungry for some buns. But anyways, I digress. Away from that, I thought it showed more of a concerned corporate magnate than the other movies haven't really dealt with. I've always thought that the Batman in the Chris Nolan movies was purposely trying to look the playboy, which makes sense if he's going to get that dual identity. But I think Bruce Wayne in here was a different take, but was something that I'm a little bit more used to. I think he also pulls off more of a rich person look. I never thought Michael Keaton really did that. I never thought Val Kilmer really pulled that off. I thought George Clooney, although Batman Forever wasn't really the best of the four, I thought George Clooney looked the part better than anyone else have. But Ben Affleck pulled it off, not just by looks, but by acting. I felt compelled to see him as the Bruce Wayne that I've been longing to see. I have heard some people say that, oh, this Batman was killing left and right. Oh my God, this is not Batman. No. If you recall, in the first Tim Burton movie, he killed the Joker. I mean, there was a certain logic. There was an intent tying a stone gargoyle around his ankle and he's dangling off a helicopter. He knew the outcome of that right away. And I'm pretty sure Batman killed some of the Red Circus gang in Batman Returns. I could go on and on. In fact, I don't know of any superhero who hasn't at one time haven't killed. I've heard Superman haven't. He killed Doomsday. Okay, that's in the movie. That's in the comics. So in one form or another, every comic book superhero has done that dastardly deed. Maybe they were forced to. I don't know. Bottom line is, they are just as human and have their foibles just as much as we do. Getting off of that. Like I said, this is the second time I've seen the movie. I loved it that much. It's about, I think, 2 hours and 20 minutes. I didn't care, but it felt like an hour and a half, and I wanted more. That's how much I really loved it. But no, I did not think any of the scenes were a mess or a big splat. One of the things that I heard too, that Wonder Woman just dropped out of the sky and into the battle. No, she was very much introduced early on in the film, and she was very prominent. Granted, in probably a supporting cast sort of way, but she was very much there. People who've been saying that were not paying attention. Let's see. I heard someone say Lois Lane was just in the movie just to be Lois Lane. No, not at all. She had a very important part. She was unraveling the plot Lex Luthor framing Superman for a massacre in the Middle East that she barely escaped. And it was that plot point that she found out Luthor was planning to destroy Superman. So that was a pretty big integral part that she played. No, she was just not a presence there. No. If anything, I thought Lawrence Fishburne's Perry White was probably swung in that direction. So, but let's face it, it wouldn't be Superman without all the people we love there. That is one gripe I have about Man of Steel. Bring back Jimmy Olsen, for crying out loud. He is part of the big three in the Superman world. You've introduced in Man of Steel these three other supporting casts in the Daily Planet. I don't really know. If you have the budget for three, I think you have the budget for the one. So bring back Jimmy Olsen. There is no excuse for that. That is one gripe I have. But otherwise, I really liked the look of Superman's world and everything. Like I said, I grew up on the Christopher Reeve thing, and I also, another thing too, in Superman 2, Superman killed the three villains. I don't think they made it out of the Fortress of Solitude as natural humans in a freezing climate like that, being knocked into the Arctic Ocean like that, especially one by Lois. But, and I'm going by the original release, Superman 2, not the Donner cut, where they were zapped back into the Phantom Zone. But I will say that I think Henry Cavill, he was very well cast for the intent that they were going for, being that he was, what did they say? He did not look too average Joe, but really very, very handsome and more like a god than everybody else in the world. Because of his DNA or his physical makeup or what have you. And I think Henry Cavill played that off very well. They hired someone who's not only a very attractive man, but who can pull off someone who is, well, not typically, like, say, American or anything like that. He just looks like someone out of the norm, even though he's very handsome. Very well cast, I thought, on that. I will always have a special place in my heart for Christopher Reeve and Brandon Routh, as a matter of fact. I thought he did good in Superman Returns. I thought it was, as far as I'm concerned, Superman 3 should have been. But anyways, I thought Gal Gadot, or Gal Gadot, I'm not sure, a long-awaited Wonder Woman. I really thought she pulled it off. She had the look. She had the stance. I don't know what's because of her Israeli supermodel upbringing, what have you, or experience, but she, I don't know, she just really pulled it off. I'm looking forward to her own movie, and if you've seen some magazines out there on the newsstand, there's already a shot or two of it. I always thought that Linda Carter was a good Wonder Woman, although back then it was considered a little campy. But this year of 2016, movies are really making superheroes very gritty, very realistic. And I think the Wonder Woman in this is pulled off very well. For the tiny little scene that they had in there, they showed her what she really was. She was immortal, and she was strong enough to be fighting Doomsday and take a lot of punches and just keep on getting up. They showed everything. They showed her bracelets. They showed her truth, her rope of truth. And there were some accessories I didn't know she had that I never saw in the comics or when I was growing up, and she had a sword and a shield. But it had a very Grecian look to it, and it just went with the mythos of the Amazons, which are a Grecian myth. So if I had one complaint on her, I think she wasn't tall enough for the role. Amazons are supposed to be very tall, but I'm not going to go splitting hairs, because if you do, in the true mythology of Amazonian women, they're supposed to remove their right breast, because that's how they shoot their bow, and that kind of gets in their way a little bit. So keeping that out of the picture, or in place, if you want to call it that, overall, I thought finally a fantastic interpretation of Wonder Woman. They never even called her Wonder Woman in the movie. I think the movie is, I think that the title Wonder Woman is got a little bit of a camp to it, but we're talking a character made back in the 40s or something like that. I think that is going to come out maybe in the origin movie, but they are handling her name with great respect, and they're not kind of overusing it. If you saw the Man of Steel, they really didn't get into the name of Superman till much later. Batman was never really called Batman in the movie till, in fact, he was pretty much the only character who did seem to have his name used frequently, but a lot of people were referring to him as the Bat of Gotham, the Devil, or something like that. So as far as using the names, they are taking out the campiness of the names and giving it a more revered respect by how and when to use it. And that is why I really like this DC universe. It's taking out a lot of the camp and giving us a lot of the grittiness. I am looking forward to seeing The Flash. I don't think we really need to see much of an origin story. Now he's got a television series. That's really a good one, too. The look they're giving Aquaman, played by Jason Momoa, looks like they have really outdone themselves, taking away the camp with that. Because I've heard a lot of people say Aquaman is a useless person in the Hall of Justice. I don't think so. I don't think he's giving his due. And I think when he gets his own origin movie, and that is in the thoughts, and when Dawn of Justice or the next movies come on, we're going to start seeing a lot of this. Cyborg, he seems to be a little bit out there. He had actually the longest clip in that email that Diana Prince saw. But I don't know if he's going to have an origin movie or not, but he does look like he's going to have a very intriguing origin. But bottom line is, I don't consider myself a novice of the comic book world, but I do know the origins of each of these characters. I will say that, I do like certain things that the movies do give and certain things that they don't. Like, one thing I really wish they would bring back. Bring back the theme, John Williams' theme of Superman. With great respect, I mean, to the guy who's doing the soundtrack to the films. I just don't walk out of the theater remembering it. Who does not recognize the theme from Superman? The Christopher Reeves da 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 da. I mean, who doesn't recognize that? And it just embodies the Man of Steel. I wish they would bring that back. I think it could go with the look too. I I don't think they had a really good theme for Batman in this movie, but I wish they'd bring back Tim Burton's theme of Batman. You know, I mean, that, I remember that theme. It sticks in my head. I will say, keep the Wonder Woman theme in Dawn of Justice. That kicked ass. I mean, that was like, dun 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 dun. It was very empowering. That I walked out of the theme. That was the only theme I remembered walking out of there. So other things, Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, I think he did a very good job. Just the one gripe, I think he's too young for the part. Maybe he's perfectly aged, but he just has a boyish face. I don't know. He pulled off the menacing qualities that Lex Luthor had, the very cunning qualities Lex Luthor had. He framed Superman. He had these backup plans where Batman was going to take him out, and if not, hide his devious deeds about, making these weapons out of kryptonite and all this other stuff, and then making, creating one of Superman's worst enemies. I don't want to go any further than that. But let's just say that the Lex Luthor, the scheming brain that he is portrayed in the comic, really comes out in this. I think he could only be topped by Gene Hackman. I think Kevin Spacey's Lex Luthor was a really good portrayal as well, too. But Jesse Eisenberg, I think, was cunningness was more detailed and more sinister. And I've heard somebody say he was kind of like the Joker. I don't see that at all. He was probably babbling at the very end in the prison scene, but I will tell you this right now. When you are insane, you probably have a tendency to babble. But bottom line, this should give you an idea of Super Brain meets Super Brawn. And I thought that Jesse Eisenberg portrayed that very well. I'm looking forward to him reprising the role. I really am. Because when he was confronted with Batman in prison, he stared him down and said, "Hey, the bell's been rung. There ain't a thing you can do about it." And only he has the knowledge to know that he's still got an ace in the hole. So that's Lex Luthor for you. He's always a step ahead. He's always beaten, but he's also a step ahead. So kudos to Jesse Eisenberg. I really hope to see him again. Let's see what else here. That is pretty much it. If I was to give you, in a nutshell, this movie totally rocks. I loved it. I am going to whore myself for this DVD when it comes out. I will open a string of whorehouses and lay prone in each room to buy this movie. That's how much I loved it. I'm not going to mesh words with it. Go see it. I'm not going to presume to have any ego about this or anything like that, but when I left the theater, I felt like I had a good time, and that's what's important. As an average Joe, I want you to know that when you walk out of that theater, you're going to have a good time. I don't care about the little details. I shared with you the ones that I saw and some of the ones that I want to counterpoint and everything. That's because I know the DC and Marvel universe quite well. But as a average person, if I went and saw this, I would leave the theater feeling exhilarated because I had a good time. Plain and simple. Keeping out all the details. Yeah. Now, I will tell you there are some superhero movies I love. And I'll give you an example. Loved Iron Man 1 and 2. I despised Iron Man 3. It was boring. It was the first movie to come out that summer. My expectations were extremely high, but I nearly fell asleep. It didn't have the action. Too much Tony Stark, not enough Iron Man. I still don't know if, his secretary and girlfriend, I forget her name, was cured yet or not, and already Avengers has come out, and we still don't know that story. I'm just, I don't know. I walked out of that so unfulfilled and so disappointed. This is how the summer was going to open. I was going to be very disappointed. So I hated Iron Man 3 with a passion. If I could collect all the films, DVDs, and everything and put them in a pile and burn them and pretend it never happened, I would. But that's never going to happen. I love Deadpool, but I'm just giving you an example of some that I would walk out of feeling really good and would walk out of feeling really bad. I walked out of Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice on a high for weeks. I walked out of Iron Man 3 so disappointed. I felt like I had just seen some average film that came out February. That's totally forgettable. And I'm sure you're going to disagree with me on that. There's going to be future film that you're going to disagree with me on. But that just makes us humans and individuals, and the diversity is what we share in this. But I wanted to give you something more than what other movie reviewers do. And I wanted to give you the average Joe feeling of what it is. So if you're not in the DC universe or superhero movie, but you just want to have like a roller coaster ride, go see Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. And don't worry about the little details or anything like that. Just open your mind to what is going on. You don't even have to pay attention to the details. Just enjoy it. And I strongly advise everyone to go see this movie because I really want to see it succeed. Now, in the future, you're going to see me do some movies that are probably not in the norm, but I want to give you a bit of a variety. But I'm not going to just stick with the mainstream. You might be surprised. But that is my critique on Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. Here's your average Joe signing off. Go see the movie and have fun. Just have fun.